The January 6th hearings continued this week, live in prime time.
The Select Committee to investigate the January 6th attack on the United States Capitol will be in order. Without objection,
I don't think it's going to amount to much, so I'm not really going to go through every development here. But I am going to use this as an opportunity to revisit one thing: how January 6th was talked about by many academics. They offered a few concepts, some psychological ideas that they think could help us understand things, like the concept of collective psychological empowerment. Or how about this one? The feeling of collective victimization. There's also the bystander effect, or the more fancy version of that, de-individualization theory. Or was it a heightened emotional state? Perhaps it was a herd mentality, a mob madness, or a shared psychosis. You get the point. The fancy terms are always a little different, but they all explain the events in basically the same way. January 6th can be understood as the result of a kind of psychosocial pathology. In a word, groupthink. This way of looking at political problems as mass hysteria, it really comes from one man, Gustave Le Bon. Le Bon was a French physician, and he is the father of crowd psychology. He was shocked by the revolutions of 1848 and later the Paris Commune of 1878. This led him to write his most famous book, The Crowd, a study of the popular mind. We'll get deeper into the ideas later, but for now, basically, Le Bon believed that crowds were fundamentally irrational. Spoiler alert, it is total hokum. The book is reactionary, racist, and just unscientific. In fact, it doesn't really have any real empirical methodology. It is just ignorant elite anxiety. The social psychologist Stephen Reicher put it best. Notions like mob madness and mass psychosis are little more than terrified observers looking at the crowd and saying, "Why on earth are they doing that? They must be mad." These academics have the arrogance to turn their own ignorance into a theory of mass ignorance. When scholars in the 1960s started to actually study crowds, they realized that Le Bon was wrong. These events actually have a kind of order and rationality to them. So crowd theory has been largely discredited. Yet Le Bon's ideas keep resurfacing, even in some of the contemporary academic literature. Here's just one example. I found an article called Crowd Dynamics and Collective Stupidity in the January 6th Riot. The article argues that Le Bon was right all along. You may be thinking, wait, is Gordon about to defend the January 6th rioters? No, of course not. Just to be painfully obvious, I do not support them, and I certainly wouldn't have done what they did. But what I think this episode will reveal is simply that these attitudes can't or shouldn't be explained away at the level of collective psychosis. Whatever the problem is here, it's something deeper. Something that will take real critical introspection. And that's the kind of thing that the Democratic Party just does not want to do. They would much rather deflect. No. The problem isn't our sclerotic political order. It's that people are pathological dupes. Okay, maybe you just don't care. Maybe you're fine if we pathologize the reactionaries. Fair enough, I guess. I'm not here to defend them. But the fact is, this Le Bon psychobabble, it's usually applied to things you like social movements. In fact, that's kind of the long history of social movements. From the civil rights movement to decolonial struggles to LGBTQ+ and drug user liberation, all those and more. Everywhere where there's a social movement, there's some expert who offers a medicalized concept to assuage anxious liberals. They say, oh, this all stems from attachment issues or bad fathers and broken homes, communist brainwashing, gender dysphoria, cognitive biases, brain diseases, whatever. Movements everywhere and always are pathologized, because that is the easiest way to dismiss legitimate claims for social and economic justice. Now, I'm not saying January 6th was that, but I am saying this. Let's not boost crowd theory. It may seem convenient to use reactionary ideas to dismiss reactionary movements, but in the end, it's going to backfire. These intellectual weapons will be turned back on us.